Welcome back to Think in English. So today we're talking about love, but not the kind you see in movies, not the grand gestures, not the dramatic confessions, not the running through the airport moment. We're talking about the quieter version of love, the kind that most people walk right past every single day without even noticing it. And I actually think that version is way more powerful than anything Hollywood has ever come up with.
I think one of the main reasons we overlook everyday love is just that it doesn't look dramatic. Like nobody's writing songs about your friend checking in on you after a rough week, or your mom texting you to ask if you've eaten yet. Those things feel so ordinary that we barely register them. But the moment they're gone, you realize how much they mattered.
Right. And I think the problem is that we've been kind of conditioned to measure love by its size. We're waiting for the big moment, the obvious proof, the grand declaration. But most of the love that actually keeps our lives from falling apart, it doesn't announce itself. It's the friend who always picks up when you call, the family member who just shows up, the person who's quietly in your corner without ever asking for credit.
I went through a really rough patch at work a couple of years ago, and my sister, without me saying anything, just started sending me a short voice note every morning. Nothing deep, just something like, "Hey, hope today's a bit easier." She did it for weeks, and I don't think she had any clue how much that meant to me. That's kind of the thing with everyday love. It runs so quietly in the background that you almost don't notice it until it's not there anymore.
And maybe that's one of the things worth working on, actually noticing it while it's happening, instead of only appreciating it in hindsight.
I think a lot of people picture love as this feeling, like it's either there or it isn't. But honestly, most of the time, love is just a choice. It's something you do. Feelings shift all the time depending on your mood, how tired you are, and how your day went. But actions, those are what actually stick.
Yeah, and sometimes love is just being patient when you really don't feel like it, choosing to actually listen instead of just waiting for your turn to talk, or sending someone a message just to say, "Hey, how you doing?" with no agenda behind it. Those things seem so small, but they can completely turn someone's day around.
And what's kind of fascinating is that we underestimate them exactly because they're so easy to do, which also means they're incredibly easy to skip. And sometimes that gap between doing it and just not is the thing someone remembers for years.
I also think these small things add up, you know? One message on its own might feel like nothing, but 10 messages across 10 really hard days, that's when you start realizing, okay, this person's really here for me.
Something I keep coming back to is how many of our worst decisions are really just fear in disguise. Fear of rejection, fear of looking needy, fear of getting hurt. Take a friendship that slowly drifted apart. A lot of the time, nobody actually did anything wrong. One person is just waiting for the other to reach out first, and the other one is doing the same thing.
And because neither person wants to be the one who reaches out first, nothing happens. The friendship just kind of fades out quietly. When honestly, one message, just, "Hey, I've been thinking about you lately," could have completely changed things.
That's kind of what love does, right? It pushes back against that fear. It makes you willing to be the one who reaches out first, to say the thing you've been sitting on, to take that small risk even when you're not sure how it'll land. And it's not always easy. Sometimes choosing love is genuinely the harder option, especially when you're hurt or angry or just exhausted.
But I think that's actually what separates love from just a feeling. A feeling can vanish the second things get uncomfortable, but choosing to show up anyway, that's where love actually lives.
There's one kind of love that I feel like people really don't talk about enough, and that's the love you have for yourself. And I don't mean that in a cheesy way. I'm not talking about thinking you're perfect or letting yourself off the hook for everything. I mean treating yourself with the same basic kindness you'd give to a good friend.
Which is honestly way harder than it sounds, because so many of us are incredibly forgiving toward others, yet just ruthless toward ourselves. We mess something up and immediately go into this spiral, replaying it, overthinking it, saying things internally that we would never say out loud to someone we actually care about.
When really, what we need in that moment is the same thing we'd offer anyone else. A little patience, a little grace, just a bit of, "Okay, that happened. Let's figure out what's next."
There's a real difference between holding yourself accountable and just being cruel to yourself. You can acknowledge a mistake without completely tearing yourself apart over it. And I think that inner voice, the way we talk to ourselves when no one else is around, that's actually one of the most important places love either shows up or doesn't.
One of the things I find genuinely beautiful about love is that it doesn't really stay contained. Like, a kind word can shift someone's mood. That mood becomes a little more patient with a colleague. That patience creates a calmer moment in someone else's stressful day. And suddenly, something tiny has rippled out way further than anyone intended.
Most of us have had that experience. A small act of kindness that completely turned a day around, maybe even a whole week. And the person who did it probably wasn't even thinking about the impact. They were just being kind in a perfectly ordinary moment.
Which is kind of a wild thought when you sit with it. Every time you choose kindness, even when you're tired, even when no one's watching, even when it costs you a little something, you're setting something in motion that you can't fully track.
And I think that's maybe the most beautiful thing about love. It doesn't need to be loud or big or dramatic to travel far. So maybe love isn't always a grand gesture. Maybe it's not always the dramatic moment we've been taught to look for. Maybe it's a conversation, a voice note, a moment of patience you didn't have to offer but did anyway. And maybe the reason it's so powerful isn't that it's rare, it's because it's available to every single one of us, every single day. Love starts with us, and it tends to go a lot further than we ever expect. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode of Think in English.